Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that all of you can hear me. So please feel free to give me a thumbs up if you can hear me fine. Yes, perfect. Alrighty. My name is Brunda, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of FACS. As all of you know, FACS is a 501c3 nonprofit created by foreign trained physical therapists for foreign trained physical therapists with the sole purpose of helping one another maneuver and kind of go through the whole process of getting licensed in the United States. This is our second webinar of 2021, and we are very excited to have Alyssa and Ushna today, who are going to be our guest speakers. After our last webinar with Ron, who is an immigration attorney, we had a lot of students and physical therapists reach out to us, asking us to talk about the process, which are very specific to their own countries. And that's the reason we decided to invite Ushna and Alyssa, who will be sharing their journeys with us today. Alyssa and Ushna, welcome to the FACS webinar, and thank you so much for volunteering your time with us today. We are going to be starting with Alyssa. Alyssa is a physical therapist from the Philippines, and she's going to talk about her journey of getting licensed in the US and how she's currently going through the endorsement process. And Ushna is a physical therapist. She went to PT school in the UK, and then she's also licensed in Canada, and she's going to be talking about her journey next. At the end of the session, we're going to save some time we're going to take some live questions. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to post it to any of the hosts in chat, and we will make sure that your questions are answered. All righty. So Alyssa, you're up.
Hi, thank you, Brenda. Let me just show you my slides. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Hi. Thank you, Brunda and FACS team for giving me this opportunity to share what I've been through to get licensed as a physical therapist in the US. Also, thank you everyone for joining us today. Hello mga kababayan, kamusta? Laban lang. And hello to everyone. And first, I would like, hold on, let me just fix this one. Sorry. Can you see my screen? Thank you. This will be my first time to be in a webinar and to become a guest speaker, so I'm a little bit nervous, but let's do this. So before we start, I would like to give you a short introduction about myself. My name is Eliza, who is currently located in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. So I got my degree, Bachelor's of Science in Physical Therapy in the Philippines. It was year 2018. So in the Philippines, it is a 5-year degree program. And I spent that amazing 5 years in my alma mater, which is the World City Colleges, where I learned how to become not only to become a professional physical therapist, but also how to become a great person. So before we dig deeper on the NPTE and credentialing process, I will share a brief story regarding my journey in the US. So I came to California with permanent resident status. It was like January 2019. So I was petitioned by my dad. So I have a green card right now, a permanent resident status. However, during that time, I haven't started any paperwork for NPTE that time yet. So I started doing other jobs such as teacher aide and home health patient care coordinator to finance myself to process my credentialing processes. During that time, I don't know how to process the credentialing. So I started joining Facebook groups, searching on the internet, Googling how to process the credentialing and how to become licensed in in the United States. So originally, I want to process the credentialing for California. However, since I don't want to take a risk, I took New York for credentialing. So let's start talking about the step-by-step process, how to get licensed in the state of United States, in the United States. So how to process? Number one is you have to secure your visa first. So every NPTE is done in the United States, so you have to secure your visa. And second one, find out what jurisdiction to be licensed. Everyone okay still? Am I fast? Good? Okay. So find out what jurisdiction to be licensed. So there's a lot of things to consider before choosing your jurisdiction, such as weather, lifestyle, neighborhood, and also if you're an Asian like me, you will consider finding out like if there's an Asian store around, like if there's seafood city around the area, and um, if you already chose your jurisdiction, like for me, at first, I want to be licensed in the state of California because of the weather and the lifestyle. However, during that time, I don't want to take a risk because based from the information that I've been receiving from my seniors, that California um, they have TOEFL and it requires them to get more subjects. So I didn't take a risk and just process for my New York credentialing, NYSED. So I chose New York credentialing and I look for the requirements needed for the NYSED. So for NYSED, I went to FCCPT website and also nysed.gov to find out what are the requirements for that jurisdiction. So for this jurisdiction, they have two credentialing agency. They are only accepting two credentialing agency, which is the FCCPT and CGFNS. So if you want to get licensed in the jurisdiction, make sure to check the website, the Board of Physical Therapy on that specific state to know what are the credentialing agency that they are accepting. For New York, it is FCCPT and CGFNS only. After that one, you can pick what credentialing agency you want. So in my case, because I want to get licensed also in California, I use FCCPT since they also process for credentialing in the state of California. Still good? Okay. Next one, I applied for my credentialing process in FCCPT. The first process is to sign up on that and on their website, FCCPT website, and make a payment. After that one is that you have to fill up the forms that you can download through their website. So in FCCPT, they have two types of forms that you have to fill up. So the first form that you have to fill up is to be submitted by you going to the credentialing agency. And the second type of form is to be submitted by you going to your school. So first, let's tackle what are the form that you have to fill up going directly to the credentialing agency. So first it is the attestation form. It has to be notarized. So you have to fill out this form first. It is just your name, address, and any required information regarding you, and including your notarized diploma, degrees, and certificates. So these are the documentations that you will directly send to your credentialing agency. And if your jurisdiction requires you TOEFL, the TOEFL ETS will send it your score they will send it directly to the credentialing agency. But in my case, since I processed for New York, NYSED, FCCPT doesn't require you to take TOEFL. And also in my case, because I just have a bachelor's degree, they didn't require doctorate degree yet in New York, only bachelor's degree in my case. Okay, the next form that you have to fill out is the forms to be submitted to your school. It is like hold on. These are the consent or a documentation where you are authorizing your school to release your educational records to the credentialing agency. So, academic verification form, clinical verification form, and licensure verification form. These are the three forms that you have to submit to the licensing agency and to your school as a request for your documentation to be released going to the credentialing agency. Okay, so these forms, you can download these forms through the credentialing agency that you took. So if you cannot find those forms on their website, you can just call directly your agency. Okay. Next. So this one says after your school receive those forms from you, your school should submit your TOR official transcripts, detailed course syllabus, and your clinical experiences directly to your credentialing agency. So they are the one who should send those directly to your credentialing agency, not you, but the school or the licensing agency. In the Philippines, I think it's PRC. We have a licensing agency there. Okay, next one. So once done with the credentialing, you can create your SBT account and register for the exam already. And after few weeks or months, you will receive your ATT, authorization to test, and schedule an exam date and choose for the Prometric Center. And also review for your exam. However, before I finish this one, I want to show you my timeline on the processing, okay? So, for my process is first I did my credentialing service from FCCPT. My start date was October 24, 2019. This is for NYSED, okay? I started with FCCPT. I signed up, I registered with them, make my payment on October 24, 2019. And during that time, I paid 515. And for the completion of the requirements and everything, it was done up until February 26, 2020. So for NYSED, because NYSED has different type of credentialing and like from other state, FCCPT only completed all the requirements like the syllabus, clinical hours, the transcript. After that one, they submitted all my documents going to the NYSED because NYSED is the one who will evaluate all my subjects. So I submit the FCCP submitted everything on February 29, 2020, directly on the New York state. And I had to pay 294 for that one for the NYSED to process everything to evaluate all my subjects. And starting that time, I was just following up with the NYSED through calling if my evaluation was done already. And it was done on April 3rd, 2020. So after April 3rd, 2020, I received the confirmation that all with my bachelor's degree that all my subjects are equivalent to New York State. So I proceed with registering for an examination in FSPT on April 3rd, 2020, and I paid for $193 for that. And after that one, I received my authorization to test on April 15, 2020. And after that, I just need to make an appointment with the prometrics. Also, another payment, another $100 for that one. And I scheduled my exam um, on 7/28/2020. So for my examination, I have to register with the review course with NPTE Final Frontier. They gave everything to me. So I just studied for 3 months. I've never studied from 2018 up until my exam. Up after I received my ATT, I just started reviewing for 3 months to prepare for the NPTE. So as of the moment, I'm already licensed in New York. However, I'm planning to endorse my license to California. So this is another process which is very different from New York. So I need to go through another credentialing processes, which is the type 1 for licensure only because I already have a permanent residence in the US and just complete all the requirements. So on the lower right side, these are the credentialing agency accepted in California. So if you will compare it to New York, they have different credentialing agency. And in California, they also have different credentialing agency. So make sure before you apply for a credentialing agency, make sure that the state that you want to be licensed is they are accepting that one. And also make sure to check the TOEFL required score. And that's it. And just my simple takeaways for taking the NPT is that you have to invest with your license and be patient during the process. There will be a lot of frustration. You will think a lot like if I'm gonna be licensed in the United States or not, but it is very important to invest with your license and just be patient during the process. Just keep on planting your seed and one day you will harvest it. It is worth it. So I want you to remember these words NPTE. It's a normal process. Whatever you're feeling right now, it's normal. It's frustrating. It is. It's normal. We've been there. Ushna been there. Brunda, Ravneet, and everyone here has been there. And you just need also to be patient. Have patience, and be positive with everything that you are going through to get your license in the US. Also, trust. Have trust that you will get your license, you will become a physical therapist no matter what, and be eager and excited with whatever you're doing right now to get your license. And if you're having doubts or hard time with your current process, always get connected. Call, post, ask, and Fax team is here for you to answer all your doubts and questions. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, just message me, just message Fax PT. We'll do everything to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. That was wonderful. I already am getting a few questions in private chat, but we'll address them after Ushna's presentation. All right, Ushna, you're up next.
All right, that's a hard act to follow, Alyssa, but I'll do my best. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is also my first webinar, so please bear with me. All right, can you guys see my screen? Yeah, Great. Okay, great. Brenda, I saw you, so I'm just going to assume that you guys can. All right. So like Alyssa talked about her journey, I'm going to talk about mine. Thank you guys all for being here. And thank you to the FACS team for asking me to do this. You guys are the actual experts. This is just my journey. But if this even helps one person, then I'm more than happy to have done this. Oh, Lord. This? Okay, here we go. So I wanted to start with a quote, okay? This quote says, "I may not be there yet, but I was closer than I was yesterday." I couldn't find who said that, but this quote really resonated with me and my journey. When I first moved here into New York, again, I had no idea where to even start. And I had a friend who kind of led the way because she'd done it recently, but it was so frustrating, and all I could see was just payments being made. I had nothing to show for it, you know, for a little while. But I had to remember that with every document I filled out, with every payment I made, I was surely one step closer to being licensed in the States as opposed to not. And, you know, it really paid off to persevere with this process. I wanted to quit over and over again, but knowing that you're kind of closer every day, every phone call, every email, it really motivated me. And I'm so glad that I stuck to it. All right, so my background, like Brenda said, I studied in England. I am licensed in all 3 countries. I'm from Vancouver, BC, so I studied in England. I moved back to Vancouver, did my exams there, and I moved to New York, did my exams here. I have worked in all 3 countries as well. I have a huge interest in inpatient care. My main areas of experience have been in medical units, orthopedics, and critical care, which is a huge passion. I am working at a local hospital here as a float PT, which has actually been really nice. I can kind of dip my hands into different units based on where I'm needed. And the biggest question I've got from my friends at work is, how did you even end up in New York? You're licensed in 2 other countries. Why here? Well, my husband got a job here for 3 years. And so after we got married, we moved down here, and I had sworn to myself I would never take another licensing exam. But like I said, I persevered, and here I am. So this is my education. I had a bachelor's in kinesiology in Vancouver, after which I went to England and Preston and did my physiotherapy degree there. And while my paperwork went through in Canada, I did my master's in Coventry. So I passed the Canadian exams. I'm not sure if any of you guys know, but there's 2 exams in Canada. There's a written, and once you pass that, you can do a clinical. So I did that in 2015 and 2016. We moved to New York in June 2018. I started my paperwork that fall, so later that year. I was told I was eligible for exam on May 24th in 2019, and I did an online prep program with Final Frontier, and I passed in 2019. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview about the steps I took to get licensed here in New York. So first I completed, you know, the FSBPT application. So they're the exam hub. They do all they run the NPTE and all that stuff. Then I submitted my education, or I submitted an application with FCCPT. So they don't actually review your education, from what I understand. They help gather all the paperwork, make sure it's all in order, and then they would send it to NYSED for the official education review. While that was happening, I registered for the exam back with FSBPT. And then after I got the ATT letter, which is the authorization to test letter, I was able to schedule my exam. I studied, did not freak out, but I did, like Dr. Singh knows. I wrote the exam and I passed. So I'll talk about these steps in a little bit more detail. Okay, so like I said, I moved here in 2018. The first thing I did when I got here was I called FSBPT and I called NYSED. I checked the websites. It wasn't overly clear to me. I phoned them and I found out exactly what I needed to do and the steps I needed to take. And what I found was this journey map on the FSBPT website that looks like this. It's quite a lengthy journey, or like lengthy page, not journey. And this is kind of an example. So it says, you know, you first create the FCCPT account, then you know, over to NYSED and them to complete the credentialing review, pass the TOEFL. I didn't need to do the TOEFL because I studied in England and Canada, and so it was waived. And then you register for your exam, and it kind of takes you through the whole process, which was helpful for me because when you go onto this website, you can input the state you're looking to get licensed in and what school you went to. And I think that alters the journey maybe a little bit. So when I did the FCCPT application, and I think I did it around October 2018, of course, application and the fee, right? There's an academic request form and licensing request form that Alyssa talked about. For my journey, it sounds like it's a little bit different. They had me submit all these papers to them, and then they sent them out to my schools and my licensing boards. But it sounds like now you send them just the attestation form, and then you send the licensing forms and the academic forms, you know, to the schools. So in my case, I filled out 3 academic forms. I filled out one for my Vancouver University, my Preston University, and my Coventry University. And then I filled out 2 licensing forms to the HCPC in UK, where I'm licensed there, and the College of Physical Therapy therapists in BC, and then sent them all in one package. Now, while I did that and I was waiting for my paperwork to be processed by the FCCPT, I got in touch with my schools, like the head of my program, and I said, you know, I've moved to New York. They'll be sending you a request form for, you know, these documents. How can I best assist you to make sure it's all ready? I was hoping that I could have it all ready with them, you know, for them. So when they get that request form, it's the fastest turnaround I could ask for. So that involved me ordering transcripts from all 3 schools, helping get together syllabi for all the programs on my transcript, which included course outlines, handbooks, anything I could get my hands on to show how much I've learned and what I've studied in school. And this took some time. So if you, you know, having friends that had maybe different handbooks than me that I didn't save or whatever, being in touch with all those people, you know, as soon as I could, really sped things along. And then for the licensing request forms, I know, I think some of you guys are here are from England. I contacted the HCPC. I actually contacted the registrar from that organization because there's nothing on the website that says, you know, contact this person for situations like this. And they directed me, or they forwarded my request to another registrar, and they helped me out. So it was important to note that they actually will not fill out forms for you that's sent to them, but they were able to send out a form called a Certificate of Good Standing to the FCCPT. And this is where I found communication was key, because as soon as I found that out, I contacted FCCPT. Is this okay? If it's not, I need to contact them and kind of rectify it. So I really felt like I was kind of a puppeteer in all this. I'm dealing with 5 different bodies, you know, 3 schools, 2 licensing authorities, the FCCPT, the NYSED. You know, you got to be organized and you have to communicate. That was the only thing that really got me through. And then, like Alyssa said, you want to fill in that attestation form that has to be notarized. You need a passport photo and then notarized copies of my degrees. One thing I wanted to say was that, I don't know if everyone knows, but at the time when I studied in school, the UK does not have licensing exams. So that's why I've never talked about them. They have a license you need to get with the HCPC after you graduate. But in England, all the schools that are accredited by the HCPC just means that, you know, they assume that if you've passed, you know, all the classes in physio school, then you have met their requirements and you don't need to do a licensing exam. That's why I've never talked about doing any licensing exams in England. But that doesn't mean that you're not licensed. You still are, and you still need to get that form filled out. So there were a couple things that I learned in this process and a couple hurdles I faced. it's really important that none of your original documents are sent by you to FCCPT. Everything I sent to them was notarized, but it's also really important that you do not send them any transcripts or anything else for your application. The transcripts and the documents that need to be sent from your school need to come from your school. So I said, okay, fine, that's great. I can do that. So I ordered the transcripts from all 3 schools. I got them sent. They were received. I got an email, hooray. And then they told me they couldn't accept them. And I couldn't understand why. They said, we got your transcripts. That's great. Thank you. But, they weren't part of the package sent from your school. Oh my God. So I had to reorder my transcripts and actually organize someone from my department to either make sure, they gave me an address that the registrar could mail them to, or someone had to go pick them up. So even though they were sent from my school, it still wasn't accepted. And that's one thing you want to check. I don't know if things like that have changed at all in the last 3 years, but that was, I lost some money in that process, and I kind of wish that I had come across something that maybe would have said different. But I mean, every person I spoke to at FCCPT were so helpful and understanding, and we came to a solution and we got it done. So once you submit your stuff with FCCPT, I made an application with NYSED, and they give you an application number. And from what I understand, as soon as FCCPT gets all your documents together, they send it to NYSED for review. And I wanted no gap in my application. So I made sure so with the FCCPT also, you can track the progress of your application, which you cannot with NYSED. So as soon as I saw my stuff had been sent to NYSED, I called them and I wanted to make sure they had it under the right file name and there were no delays. And they did, which was great. And for this application, this is some of the information you'll need. I only had to fill out form 1. It sounds like there's multiple forms on there, but it really depends, I think, on like your visa situation. And I can't remember the other forms, but I only had to do form 1. Standard information they need from you, right? Your contact info, your education history, professional experience, and so your work experience, any exams you did. For me, I inputted all my Canadian information, and then the credit card information. That's always important. And I think this is also when I started getting really frustrated, right? Payments to FCCPT, payments for transcripts, payments to get things mailed. And there was just, it really adds up. I wasn't working at the time because I had no work permit yet. I was waiting for that. But, again, I was one step closer, and that kind of made it exciting. All right, what's next? So FCCPT sent my documents to NYSED. They received it, amazing news, and then you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for their own review. So you wait, but communication is so important with them too, because you can't track your progress online like you could with FCCPT. So I had to be really proactive with the calling and the emailing to find out, if they needed anything else from me, which they didn't, thank God, if I could help, provide anything else or just kind of speed things along. And once that has been approved, which it was, and after I found out after I called, because you don't really get any, well, I didn't at the time get any email to say otherwise, you want to register for your exam with the FSBPT. And you will be sent a letter called the ATT letter, which is called an authorization to test. That'll be sent to you by email once the FSBPT gets word that you're eligible to write the exam. And that letter will direct you to the Prometric Center that you need to contact, or how to contact the Prometric Center and schedule your exam. Finally, now this is kind of what you've been waiting for, right? It's an honor to be able to study for this exam. Okay, that honor fades within like 2 days when you see the study book and you have this exam date looming and you don't know well, I didn't know how I was going to pass this. I've done all this work, I've paid all this money. I'm finally at this point. Like Alyssa, I had not studied for a while, and I had vowed never to do another licensing exam. And I had actually registered with a online prep company that had a lot of great resources, but their lectures just didn't vibe with me. And I had found Final Frontier, and I signed up with them. And I know this is a shameless plug, but I have never looked back. And I still have friends that I've talked to, while studying, and we keep in touch, and we studied together online, and we passed, and I celebrated the cheese board that night. But it really, really, really paid off to persevere. And seeing that pass sign at the end was just probably the best feeling I've had in a long time. So with that, I want to close. It seemed impossible until it was done. And it kind of always felt like, I was missing one thing, or it was taking forever. But it is possible. I have done it. And I really hope you guys have all the success in the world. And I really wish I actually had the FACS team to help guide me, because, this was my journey, and there was no clear path. But I hope that you guys find what you're looking for. Thanks, guys.
Ushna, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and also sharing where you went wrong and what you could have done better, because hopefully that will prevent other people from making the same mistakes, and that will help them save some time and money for sure. Two super important things. All right, we do have actually a lot of questions in chat, so I'm going to start reading those questions out to you. Give me 1 second. Okay, so Ushna, the first question is for you. Someone has asked, did you send the documents from Canada or UK or both? And how long did it take for you to send the documents?
What documents are we talking about?
They haven't mentioned anything specific.
I'm gonna assume it's from the FCCPT, like my transcripts and all that. I started doing my application in October 2018, and I believe all my documents from all my schools and my licensing authorities were in by January. I think mail time between them sending it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. But it really was important to note that I had a lot of trouble getting my letter delivered to my Coventry University. FCCPT had tried 2 or 3 times, and I ended up creating a FedEx account for them to send with a tracking number, and that got delivered within 2 days and cost a little bit more than I was hoping, but one step closer, right? So it wasn't too bad. I think it really helped that I had all those documents also lined up for my school to print out and package.
Okay, that's helpful. And I have one more question for you. Someone has asked that, I'm from the UK. Did you send the copies of your transcripts, or did you send the original documents?
So I ordered transcripts from my school, and they printed out, sealed it, and got delivered to the head of my department, or whoever was compiling my documents. So it wasn't a copy, it was the real transcripts from my school that I paid for copies.
Okay. Alyssa, this question is for you. They're asking, they're saying that, hello, I'm also from the Philippines. I would like to ask Ms. Alyssa if the process will be the same in becoming a physical therapist in the US now in 2021. I ask because as far as I know, there is a law that requires one to have a doctorate degree. How will that affect the process?
As of the moment, NYSED and any other state doesn't require for doctorate degree yet, but transitional doctorate degree will help you out to fill your lacking subjects, but it is not a requirement to have a transitional degree as of the moment.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'm going to read out Christian's question. He's asking, and Ushna, this one's for you. He says, hi, I have two questions if possible. Firstly, I'm studying the Accelerated Physiotherapy MSc at UCLAN University in
UCLan,
Preston.
yeah, that's my school.
Okay. Does anyone know if they accept this qualification anywhere in Canada or the US? Also, is the exam content much different from the UK University Physiotherapy program?
Hi. Okay, I'm so happy that you guys came. I know I'd emailed Heather to say I was doing this, and she said she's going to send it out. So I'm really happy to see you here from UCLan. That's really exciting for me. So in Canada, okay, in Canada, they'll accept your program as long as you're considered an entry-level program in the UK. That means as long as, if you do this accelerated MSc, can you work as a physical therapist after you graduate? Yes, you can. So Canada says, thumbs up, we'll take you. Now, whether they make you do any other, what I had to do like a health, like learning about the healthcare program going back, but it wasn't an issue. It was an online program for about a month, I think. So Canada will take you as far as I'm aware. And in the US, you should too. I know in New York, I have an MSc, so I had no issues getting licensed here. But a friend of mine has a BSc and is licensed in Pennsylvania, but because she did not have a master's in New York, they're making her do a transitional DPT. So it sounds like in New York, you wouldn't have an issue. And I hope that answers your question about your qualifications being accepted. And then exam content is much different from UK University Physiotherapy. No, so I found the Canadian exam pretty equivalent. I think I learned some things in Canada that I didn't really go over in England a whole lot, but memory doesn't serve me well at the moment to tell you what those were specifically. But in the States, they have a little bit of a different role than what we are used to in England. They do a little bit more about, learning about meds and reading EKGs, wound care. And that was a big learning curve for me, but like I said, I did the online prep program and I had no issues with that. So I think Canada was a bit more comparable. The States is a little different, but not impossible.
Perfect. Thanks, Ushna. Christian, I hope this answers your question. Alyssa, the next question is for you. Can you take your NPTE from LA if you have NYSED evaluation, or did you have to go to New York to take your exam?
To take my exam for New York, I was here in California. I took it specifically in Los Angeles, California. So wherever you are, you can take your NPTE, but it's only inside the United States. So if you want to take it for Illinois, Chicago, you can take it in California, as long as it's inside the United States. Thank you.
All right. So the next question is for Ushna. This one might be a little tricky. Okay. So someone has asked, what happens if the Florida State Board does not accept the UK university you went to? What can be done to pass the evaluation?
That is tricky, and I wish I had an answer for you. I don't.
Do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, you might have to take that one. You go for it. I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm not sure who asked this question, but so I'm not sure what you mean by will not accept your UK university. I'm guessing you are saying that some of the like you were lacking some of the courses and that your education was not equivalent. That's not uncommon. A lot of students have that. In this case, all you have to do is FCCPT or whichever credentialing agency you're going through will give you a list of deficits. They'll say, okay, you've not done the wound debridement course, or you've not studied system interaction in your school, and you need to study those courses in the US before you can become a licensed physical therapist in the US. So all you have to do is take those courses and from from schools that are based in the US, and then you can go ahead and apply for a reevaluation, and then your education should be equivalent to the physical therapy degree in the US. If you have any more questions about that, you can always email us at contact@fcct.org. I'm going to have the team share the email address in chat in case you want to reach out to us. Okay. The next question, actually, there are two questions. One is for Alyssa, which is how can I endorse my license from North Carolina to New York? And the other one is for Ushna. They're asking how can I endorse my license from California to New York? And I'm going to take this one too. Because New York State has a completely different evaluation process, just like Alyssa and Ushna mentioned, you have to go through NYSED, whereas for other states, you have to do the CWT evaluation. So if you are licensed in another state and you want to apply to New York, you have to go through, the only thing that you don't have to do is that you don't have to send your documents to FCCPT or whichever credentialing agency you're going through. So you don't have to send the documents to them again if you've already sent your documents for the other evaluation. But all the other steps that Alyssa and Ushna mentioned about opening your file with NYSED and sending, creating your account and everything, you will have to follow those steps. So the steps remain pretty much the same. The only advantage is you don't have to send the documents from your home country again, unless you want to add some more documents if you've studied say you did your master's or you did your transitional DPT and now you're endorsing your license. So maybe you can send those documents, but you don't have to send everything again. I do have a lot of questions about transitional doctorate of physical therapy versus master's program or versus exercise science degree. And I'm going to hold off on answering those questions because today's webinar is about specifically talking about Ushna's, Alyssa's journey and about questions that are specific to getting licensed from the Philippines if you've studied in the Philippines or the UK. So we're going to stick to that. Ushna, Ushna, Alyssa, either one of you can take the next question. Someone's asking that they say that New York is taking more than 3 months. How long did it take for you to get your evaluation report?
Mine took 4 to 6 weeks. Are you talking? So NYSED took 4 to 6 weeks to evaluate mine. Starting the 4th week, I started phoning twice a week. And then in the 6th week, they had told me actually, oh, you were eligible like a week ago. So
wow,
mine
took pretty quick.
Yeah. So yeah, I think at the time it wasn't too bad. 4 to 6 weeks.
That's good. And this was in 2019, right?
Yes, April to May 2019. Yep.
Okay. And Alyssa?
That was same for me too. It takes like 4 to 6 weeks to finish it from the NYSED. However, someone advised me to call NYSED time to time for me to know if the credentialing was already done. So after 4 weeks, I started calling them like every day just to make sure that it's done already.
I would agree. I think that's a good tip that if you have started your evaluation with NYSED and if you haven't heard back from them in time, just feel free to reach out to them, just email them, call them, keep in touch with them so that way you can keep a check on the status of your file. Ushna, this question is for you. Since you were on a spouse visa, did you apply for type 1 at all? I think we lost Ushna. I'm not sure if that's just on my end. Yeah. Okay. Ushna, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. It froze.
Okay. I'm not sure if you heard the question, but I'm going to repeat it.
Yeah, repeat it, please.
Since you were on a spouse visa, did you have to apply for type 1 at all?
No, I did not. I'm here on a J2 visa, spousal visa for my husband, and I only had to do the New York credentials verification through FCCPT.
Okay, that's perfect. That's it with the list of questions. And thank you, Alyssa and Ushna, for your time today. It was a wonderful presentation. And thank you for answering all of these questions. Like, I know it's a little stressful, like to just answer the question on the go, but you guys did an amazing job. And I've received a lot of private messages that are very specific to what should I do if I'm from India or about future education and all of those things. Please check out the FCCPT website. We have a ton of information. There's a whole list of TDPT programs that you can go through, see which program you like, which program fits your needs. And if you have any more questions, we do offer consultation as well. So you can talk to an expert and discuss with them, okay, this is what I want to do, which program is going to be the best, and then try to figure out what is going to be the best thing for you to do. And everybody who's asking about all the licensing process from India, I want to say hang in there. We are planning that. That's probably going to be the next webinar that we're going to present. So make sure you keep checking the FCCPT website and the Facebook page, because we will be sharing a flyer and updating you about when that's going to be held. Thank you once again to everybody for spending your Sunday morning, afternoon, evening with us, and for showing so much love and support for Alyssa and Ushna.